As marketers, one of the most important and often the most difficult part of our roles is reporting. And with such a wealth of information available to us in the digital age, a huge part of the task is figuring out how to visualize that information in order to tell the right story to the right people.
Now, before we get too deep in here, a quick note. This video is the second in a three-part series where we're focusing on the key parts of the reporting process. In this video, we're going to be focusing on strategies for visualizing and analyzing the data that you've got. But make sure you watch the first video in the series if you haven't, where we talk about planning your data collection strategies to make sure that you actually have the information you need to get to this stage. Okay? Sorted.
Probably the most important question of them all. Why does data analysis and visualization matter? One of the great benefits of digital marketing is that we have more opportunity than ever before in this field to make data-driven decisions about how we do our jobs. What campaigns we run, when, targeting which people on which channels, with how much budget.
But defining these factors is often more complicated than it might appear. Partially because of the amount of data that we need to sift through, alongside the challenges in ensuring it's interpreted correctly, but also because businesses are, unfortunately, but inevitably political. At the end of the day, as marketers, we need to be able to prove the impact that we have on a business if we want to earn a seat at the table when it comes to revenue and budget conversations. And it's really hard to hold your own in those situations if you're up against someone with hard numbers to support their request for budget when you just have pretty pictures.
We need our businesses to look at us as revenue drivers, not cost centers, to see the budget assigned to our department as investments with a proven track record of returning well on that investment. In this video, we're going to dive into this and look at why it's important to think about who in the business our reporting is for, what kinds of reports you should likely be creating as a marketer, why the way you visualize your data matters, and how to make sure you're driving actionable insight from reporting.
Knowing who our reports are made for is one of the key first steps to figuring out what story we're trying to tell and what the best approach is likely to be in order to visualize it. To better understand our audience, we should look at two common approaches to creating reports: top-down and bottom-up.
Top-down reporting focuses on business goals and objectives. It's reporting that is typically targeted towards executives and managers, people in charge of making sure that the business is meeting its objectives. At the other end, we have bottom-up reporting, which is fueled by analysis. Bottom-up tends to get deeper into the details, which explains why a lot of people in this sector are analysts and marketers, people focused on taking actionable insights across campaigns and sales data to help optimize business processes and projects. In short, a top-down approach of reporting delivers detailed business reports, while a bottom-up approach drives deeper analysis around campaign performance. So, why are these different approaches important anyway?
Different approaches to reporting help us determine the level of analysis or insight we need to provide to our target audience. A CEO doesn't need to understand the impact of a landing page A/B test, but a marketing manager definitely needs to understand whether the results are statistically significant so they can improve the conversion rates of not just one, but potentially hundreds of other landing pages. Knowing who our end user is helps to ensure that we're crafting the right kind of story. Now that we better understand our audience, it's time to focus on what our data is telling us.
How you piece a report together in the most effective way depends on who your reports are going to, what kind of information those people want to see, and what questions they're likely to want answered. This leads you to the most important question: how do you piece it together for them in the most effective way?
Often here, spreadsheets won't cut it. What you're looking for is a way of visualizing data that conveys important information effectively, quickly, and concisely, while enabling people to drill down into more detail where it's necessary and appropriate. What you need is a data visualization strategy, or what's often simply referred to as a dashboard.
The elements of a good dashboard may vary somewhat depending on the specifics of who its audience is and what exactly it needs to cover, but there's a few good rules of thumb that will generally always be true of a good dashboard. Data should be accurate. Data should be relevant. It should be as close to real-time as feasibly possible. Appropriate measurements and transformations should be applied. Additional detail and context should be able to be drilled into.
You'll often end up requiring multiple different dashboards to suit different requirements and answer different questions. You might need dashboards that, for example, help you answer questions such as: how are our current campaigns performing? Which channels are most effective at driving new leads? Which ones are the most effective at driving late-stage sale progression? How is marketing contributing to pipeline and revenue? How is marketing impacting customer retention and lifetime value? What marketing tactics have the highest return on investment? How happy are our customers? And what's the return on spend for our marketing department?
Getting started might seem like a daunting task at first, but it doesn't have to be an insurmountable hurdle. Start simple and expand from there. You might have a specific piece of data visualization software in your tech stack. If so, that's great. But regardless of whether you do or don't, you can achieve a lot of your needs here directly within Adobe Marketo Engage. It has fantastic out-of-the-box reports that can operate as basic dashboards to answer many of these questions. It also has add-on products that can expand even further. Performance Insights is a great tool to look at multi-touch and first-touch attribution of revenue back to key programs and channels, and to source clear overviews of how your campaigns are performing. Revenue Explorer is a slightly more complicated, but slightly more grunty tool, and allows you to perform pivot table analyses on almost anything in Adobe Marketo Engage, creating all sorts of graphs and dashboards out of the insights.
Next, have a plan for what dashboards you think you'll want to create and select which one will be the first cab off the rank. If you've never created a dashboard before, it'll be a good idea to pick an option here that is valuable but not too complicated. Don't go straight for the option with the most convoluted data. Start simple, prove the value, and then work your way up from there. Once you know these things, you'll want to consider some of the following questions. What do you need to know, and in how much or how little detail? What visualizations will give you the best feel for the information? Will you need to drill down into any of the data? This will start to give you a guide for how your dashboard should be structured, what will live where, and how key pieces of data will be visualized. Once you have this, you can start getting data into the right place and the right format to power your dashboard.
Remember, as you work through this, to keep a focus on the story that you want the dashboards to tell, where emphasis should and shouldn't be, and where you want most conversation to happen. This becomes particularly important as it leads us into driving the next key focus: actionable insight.
Actionable insights are meaningful findings that result from analysing data. They help to highlight what actions need to be taken to prove or disprove a hypothesis that you've developed. And while most insights are helpful, not all are actionable. Actionable insights don't come from having a lot of data or information. They're created by analysing information, drawing a bunch of conclusions, and then making informed decisions from them.
Actionable insights are super important for a number of reasons, but mainly because they help you make strategic decisions that create positive impact on your business. So, how do we create actionable insights? We're going to look at the 3 key steps we can take to highlight actionable insights from our reporting.
First, we want to look at how insight can lead to action. And this process is all about critical thinking and looking at the story our data is telling us. Here's an example. We all know how busy the Christmas holiday period can be, and for a lot of us, our data tells a similar story. Our marketing team created more campaign activity. We launched a new product, and our campaign ad spends increased to drive more urgency through this period. This all sounds great, but it also makes it harder to distinguish between what exactly caused the increase in sales. Was it the lift in ad spend, the new product line, or was it all a correlation and the Christmas holiday period is just busy? What's our action? It's to create reports and dashboards that help us identify whether we're better spending just before or during the holiday sale.
Sometimes though, insight can lead to no action, because while most insights are helpful, not all are actionable. Data analysis can confirm any assumptions we already had, leading to insights that aren't actionable, but still play an important role in our business. Here's an example. Our social marketing team felt that light-hearted and funny content was more likely to be engaging on a Friday. They did some investigation and found their funny content was, in fact, generating more engagement when published on a Friday. There was no action to take, but the team did learn that their assumptions were correct and that nothing was broken.
And finally, sometimes insights lead to a brand new hypothesis. Diving into our data can help us figure out whether our strategy is actually working or not. If we're able to prove our hypothesis true or false, then we might need to redefine our approach and strategy, which is an actionable insight in itself. Here's an example. Our marketing team hypothesized that delivering emails at 9 AM local time across the world would improve our opening rates. But the data didn't support the theory, and we got a lot of very mixed results when we compared the engagement data to campaign sends across randomized sending times. When we dove deeper into our research, we discovered that different cultures start work at very different times and have very different work routines. So, we reframed our hypothesis that aligning campaign send times with the cultural work patterns in a region would improve open rates.
At the end of the day, most marketers want to have meaningful impact with their work, and figuring out the right way to tell that story through reporting is one of the most critical skills we can develop.
So, hopefully this video has given you some clear steps that you can apply to your day-to-day when it comes to establishing who your reports are for, how to frame and visualize them, and how to derive actionable insights from them.
Stay tuned for the third and final video in this series. We'll be focusing on how you can go about optimizing your marketing as a result of your reporting. In the meantime, happy automating!